Educators and academic administrators understand the value of video.
Do a quick search online and you'll find countless video resources, some good, some great, and a lot in between. Hi, I'm Jason York, the post-production manager at Pellet Media.
And I'm Mary Ellen Gardner, one of the producers at Pellet Media. So you want your content available online to share with your students or to attract new ones, but where do you start?
If you're a busy educator, this is the series for you. 4 modules will give you the foundational skills necessary to develop, produce, edit, share, and archive your content.
First, we'll give you the essentials you need to get up and running right away, producing your content for the people who need it, your students.
We'll also give you very specific instructions on how to create videos for different applications, such as lectures, recruitment, and labs.
The content here is designed so you can jump around from one topic to another, enabling you to put your video production skills into action. If we move too quickly, pause the player, rewind, and repeat. You're always in control. Throughout this course, there will be written assignments. If you want to make the most of this self-study, don't skip them. Writing your responses is critical because it will help further develop your ideas.
And finally, explore the website where you'll find additional resources that expand upon the lessons with examples and case studies.
Content producers are an enthusiastic bunch. They have the tendency to grab their cameras and start shooting the moment they have a great idea. Now, there will be times when you need to capture something on the fly, but for most projects, planning is necessary. Thinking through the following steps will ensure you are producing content that meets the needs of your audience and has measurable results. A solid understanding of why this content needs to be created is essential. So how do you get a handle on the need? An easy way to fully understand the need is by asking yourself a series of questions. For example, are you creating this content to explain a complicated concept so your students better understand it? Or are you creating content that answers your students' frequently asked questions? At a minimum, you should be able to answer the following questions. What content do I want to create? Why is it needed? Does this video content already exist? And if so, am I replicating it or expanding upon it? If not, you may be filling a knowledge gap. Reflecting on the answers to these questions will prepare you for the next step, understanding your audience. The previous step ensures you identify the need. Here's where you make sure you understand who your audience is so that your content resonates with them. For most educators, the audience for your content will be students. That's a pretty broad term that needs some dissecting, especially if you want to truly understand who is going to use your content so that it's most impactful. When thinking about your audience, be specific. Try to keep your focus as tight as possible. Producing content for a narrow audience is more effective. Before we go any further, write down your responses to the questions contained in these lessons. The document you create will help you better understand your audience and can be shared with others for feedback. How much detail do you need when describing your audience? This is where we develop a target audience profile document. At a minimum, you should be able to answer the following questions. What is their skill or knowledge level? What language do they use? And by language, we mean vocabulary. What terms do they understand? Is yours a technical audience? What's the best way to present your content? This is a good time to think about the length of your content. Where and how will your viewers consume your content? Are they on the go watching it on a mobile device or at their laptop doing homework? Using your responses to these questions, create a document that's a page or two and can be shared with collaborators. Having a mental model of your audience, who they are, how they learn, what they know, and what they need prepares you for the next step of defining your content's goals and objectives. A critical step to producing effective content that reaches and engages an audience is being able to articulate concisely its goals and objectives. What do they mean and how do we use them? The goal of the video is its outcome. It's what we ultimately hope to accomplish after someone watches your content. For example, teaching a concept or changing a behavior. The objectives are the measurable steps we need to reach the goal. Typically, there are multiple objectives necessary to accomplish this. Step 3 actually has 2 parts. First, define your goal by stating what your video will accomplish. For example, the goal of your video may be to teach spot welding. Next, define the objectives by asking yourself, what steps does my audience need to take to achieve this goal? In this example, for students to understand how to spot weld, they need to know the following: resistance welding, heat generation and control, different properties of the two materials being attached, and then the spot welding process. With the first 3 steps, need, audience, goals, and objectives, behind us, we now have a solid foundation to proceed. A helpful tool is having a project summary sheet that can be shared with project collaborators. A project summary sheet is a 1-page document that gives a summary of what the project is and includes the goals and objectives and the target audience. Addressing the next 3 steps, dissemination, evaluation, and archiving, during this early stage of pre-production may seem counterintuitive, but it's important to consider these components now rather than later. For our purposes, dissemination is basically publishing your content. A plan to share your content needs to be in place before you start production. This plan will not only inform decisions during production and post-production, but it will also ensure that your content gets in front of your target audience. Refer to your target audience profile document. This should tell you where your audience is consuming content, and that's where you need to be. Along with developing a dissemination plan before moving into pre-production, you'll want to decide where your content will ultimately live. Backing up your content is key. But there are many places you can choose to store it. You can use a cloud-based storage system such as Dropbox, Google, or other web services. Another option is backing up on an external hard drive, which is good if you want to have access to your footage without internet availability. Ideally, you should choose multiple places to store and back up all of your content on a regular basis. Now, this module covered a lot of territory. Some of it may seem tedious or overwhelming, but it's all necessary to developing and producing high-quality content that's going to provide value to your audience. Before moving forward on your project, ensure that you've identified your need, researched your audience, including where they consume content, articulated your goals and objectives, and started to formulate your dissemination and archiving plans. Our next module is about production.